I haven't made a video on my summer hat for a while. I guess it must be summer. Well, it's actually spring if you look at it in the sense that the summer starts on the 21st of December, 22nd of December is the beginning of summer, because that's the summer equinox, summer solstice. But it's December the 6th today, I think, December the 6th. I want to do a follow-up video on the body code video that I did. So this will be maybe the video the week after I schedule my body code video. So this is me 3 days after my body code work, 4 days, 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yeah, so 3 days after my body code video, after my body code work, the hour and a half, was it an hour and a half, 45 minutes, almost an hour long session I had. It's supposed to be 45 minutes, it ended up being a little over an hour. And I wanted to do a video on my experience because I want to tell you how I fucking feel. The body code work that I did, as I said in that video, was so deep and so powerful for me, and I was so exuberant after doing that work, but I really didn't feel the reverberations of the experience until yesterday. Thursday it kind of crept in, and then yesterday I got kicked in the ass. Yesterday I was kicked in the fucking ass. And they call this echoes, and it makes sense, because what the echo is in the body code work is the seed that was planted, the statement that was planted, I would not call it a belief, I'd call it a statement that was planted into your psyche when you were in utero, ancestral, or as a child, when you were that malleable and that sponge-like, or if you carried it through your DNA, if it's ancestral. That has a frequency that can stretch back generations, right? Intergenerational. So it has a deep intergenerational programming that runs through the body, even though it might be holographic, and even though you might be in the body but not of it, and that in the sense that you are wairua, your spirit, but there's a reverberation within the frequency code of the body that has to, in my experience now, play itself out. And when you utilize the statements, and the statements that Catherine pulled up for me out of my subconscious, I had used many times before in my life experience, and some of those statements were fucking dark. And they were at times in my life when I was suicidal. It was times in my life when I was at the rock fucking bottom, depressed. The statements that she pulled out of my subconscious, right, that she pulled out in regards by the roots, threw them away to compost and planted new seeds in, right, new positive statements. But the actual echo of the statement that was made, or which I took on board, probably more importantly, when I was in utero, my body was in utero, maybe of course naturally ancestral, and then I feel as well before the recycle and the reincarnation into this realm, there could have been a period as well of naturally when you align with, in a technological sense, when you align with the incarnation you're about to have before the archons send you back into this realm. When you begin to align with a certain incarnation and they put you into, because in my feeling and perception, they do put you into an incarnation because you sign up for it, you contract into it, right? You consensually contract, or you're coerced or tricked into it. What comes with that is the frequency of the statements made throughout the entire genetic holographic form for many generations, and up until that moment, your parents who create the zygote, who fertilize, the egg and the sperm that fertilize the zygote, even to that point, there would be, in my experience, there's statements that were made that I can identify with from my father's side of the family and my mother's side of the family, and my mother and my father. And a lot of those statements that were made, as I've said, were for me in utero and also to about 2 years old. And of course at 2, I don't really have the recollection in my conscious mind of what happened, what was said. But what also happened for me during this process, especially after the exuberance began to wear off on Wednesday, was I began to remember my father's words and his deeds and his actions towards me as a babe, as a 2-year-old, right? The things that he was saying to me, which were fucking awful. I would never want anyone, not even someone who I detest, but love on a deeper level, detest in regards to their actions, words and deeds in this reality, in this realm. I would never want them to have the experience that I had as a child. I would never want anyone to have the experience that I had as a child in that holographic form, right? What I experienced was a fucking horror story times a million. There's no short story that I've ever written with Lord Buford Somerset that comes close to the horror that I experienced as a child, from my perception, right? So yesterday I was hit like a fucking brick wall. The echoes of those statements hit me fucking hard, and as a consequence of that, I felt not suicidal, but I felt like I'd been smashed energetically, and I was just fucking in full depression mode. I began to see myself as being not worthless, but definitely felt this feeling of like I wasn't in alignment with my life. And that's an echo of the statements that I had pulled out of my subconscious mind on Wednesday, because a lot of those statements basically say that I'm not in alignment with my life, you know. Literally, one of the statements I will tell you was, I want to die. And I have said that so many fucking times in my life. 20 years ago, 25 years ago. You know, I was doing everything I possibly could to kill myself for about 10 years. You know, I tried to commit suicide twice in my teens. I fucking fucked up both times. And then I almost drank myself to death in my 21st. And that was a subconscious move, but I almost did it. So I've had this seed planted in me, and I knew it was in my subconscious, and I'd done a lot of work, shadow work over the years, to face these dark statements, these dark projections, installations, programs running through my subconscious, playing themselves out of my life. You know, I've looked, you know, as a light, you know, the high idea of a light worker, I get it, but you have to turn around and face the fucking darkness. Part of being in this realm is that you carry the light in the dark, right? So you have to, in my experience, you embrace the darkness as much as you embrace the light, because you are casting a shadow. And by casting a shadow, you have to look at your darkness. You know, as Jung famously said, you know, if you don't address your darkness, it manifests in your life as fate. Your shadow, that is, right? Well, I manifested my darkness pretty well. I was as a man in relationship to a woman, through my 20s and my early 30s, you know, I look back at my behaviour now and I look at it as being disgraceful or shameful, but I was not the man I am today. And you know, I can apologise till I'm blue in the face about my behaviour to the woman that might see this video, because I was a complete world-class fucking asshole. But I was playing out those statements, playing out those programs, playing out those installations that I witnessed and was experiencing and was told and shown how to act towards women and towards relationships and love. And then of course the ancestral stuff that I was carrying through as well. It's not who I am anymore. But world-class asshole doesn't come close, doesn't even fucking come close in my perception now of the man that I used to be. I'm not that man anymore. But yesterday, yeah, I hit the fucking wall, man. I was so fucking depressed, but not in a heavy way that felt like I was going back into the place I was before. It's an echo, so it's like it's a reverberation of the statement being pulled out, but the energy as it begins to dissipate through your form, in my experience, as that energy begins to dissipate through your form, through your holographic form, as it begins to lose its momentum and lose its ability to be able to, in my experience, lose its ability to reverberate through your life because it's been pulled out, the echo of that statements and of those statements, and there are, like I said before, about between 50 and 20 statements. In my experience, I'm feeling the weight of those experiences. And yesterday I was quite tearful. I was choked up for most of the afternoon actually, and being gentle with myself. And then last night I went and saw Hot Machine at the Copra Tavern in Helensville, and I needed that. I needed some rock and roll, some swagger. So thank you, Hot Machine. The ladies from Hot Machine, you were so fucking incredible last night. I needed some rock and roll, I needed some swagger, I needed some fun and some laughter and some joy, and you gave me that experience last night, and I'm really grateful for that, to see Hot Machine, the Australian all-woman Australian rock and roll band, was just fucking amazing for me last night. I needed that, my heart needed that, to be in that joyful, exuberant rock and roll swagger. It was just what I needed last night. I wasn't going to go, but I did. And I'm so happy I did, because I needed that moment. Not as a form of distraction, but a celebration of life. And it was a celebration of life for me. Because yesterday I felt like shit. And today I still feel like it. I still feel the reverberations, not as strongly as yesterday, but I still feel them. I still feel this this reverberation of these statements made. And it's this is not something it's not new to me. I did this in 2017. I sat on my couch in 2017 after my partner at the time, my partner Kahu, told me that she'd been seeing someone for about 6 weeks, and we made a quite a clear connection 2 years before that, and said, look, in regards to our honesty, if we start seeing other people or are genuinely interested in other people, then we'll tell each other, so we have the opportunity to decide how we choose to move forward with that connection, with that in full disclosure. In my past connections, I hadn't been that guy. I'd been the fucking guy that cheated on his girlfriends, cheated on his lovers, and with the fear of being discovered, would never tell them, because I was too afraid of the rejection, and too afraid of losing them, and too afraid of the abandonment. But at the same time, I was terrified of being intimate and being with a woman because of the nature of the statement. One of the statements that I pulled out of my subconscious on Wednesday. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to keep the story alive. But one of those statements basically made it clear that I didn't feel safe in relationships, and therefore that love to me meant being hurt. So I didn't want to get close to someone emotionally, because if I did that, I was going to get hurt. So I did everything in my power, consciously and subconsciously, to sabotage those connections, those relationships, because of who I was, right? And I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not that fucking guy anymore. I move slowly into connection. You know, I'm not the guy that rushes in. I used to be that guy for fucking 35 fucking years, man. Now I move slowly into connection. You know, I'm not in a rush, but my heart's way more open than it ever has been in my life, and therefore when I'm intimate with a woman, I really am fucking intimate with a woman. I'm all in. There's no half-assed. I'm all in. But I'm also very selective in that sense, because I know what I want to experience, right? What I'm bringing to a connection, most importantly, which is authenticity, honesty, integrity, dignity, and virtue are just some of the things I'm bringing to a connection, because that's who I am now. You know, I look in the mirror and I see my faults. I see everything. I see myself and other people. But yesterday I felt like, you know, I was that guy again. I was living out that part of my life, the reverberations of it in this moment, right? And it fucking killed me. It was, you know, I wouldn't say it was debilitating, but it dropped me to my fucking knees. And in a metaphorical sense. And I was like, I was waiting for the tears to come, and the tears never came yesterday. You know, I've cried a lot of tears in my life. Oh fuck, I've cried so much in my life. You know, I've wept for hours, times broken down due to the nature of those statements, how those statements have affected me, right? So the belief code work is insane. I was told yesterday by Catherine, my practitioner, that it would be a week before I would be able to integrate with the body code, not the belief code, the new statements. It'll take a week for them to anchor into my body, embody them and integrate them into my life, but also for a week for the reverberations and the echoes of the statements that are pulled out of my being, out of my subconscious, which, if you follow the work of David Icke in the dream and the reveal, the subconscious is in the astral, right? So, yeah, I had to be really gentle with myself. And yesterday, so many aspects of my life situation, financial, direction, path, presence, you know, for me in my life now is, and I said this 2 years ago to my friend Tabash, all I want to do is be present in my life and sit in my heart vortex and allow my higher nature, infinity, that I connect to source, God, to guide me to where I'm to go to and be in that place and just be with God. As they say, be still and know that I am God. One of the Psalms, right, in the Bible, which is a beautiful psalm, and I sit with that now. In my meditation this morning for an hour, I sat with be still and know that I am God working through this situation. That's the psalm that I used this morning, and the addendum to that psalm: be still and know that I am God working through this situation. So I'm feeling very vulnerable. I'm feeling very blessed, humbled. I'm also very aware that I am all there is, ever has been, and never will be. I'm a point of awareness, right? I'm a divine spark, and this experience I'm having is simply an experience that that's happening for the body, right? Happening for the holographic form. I'm in it, but not of it. But I'm aware of it happening. It's just kind of like two energies moving forward together. I'm aware of the energy happening in my holographic form, but I'm observing it in a way that I know that it isn't me, it's an experience, but I'm observing it, but it's happening and I'm aware of it. Right? I'm not going to denote that it's beside me, it's happening here and I'm experiencing it, but I'm not of it. It's happening for me. That makes sense. I'm having the experience of experiencing this, but observing it, not identifying myself as being the experience. I hope that makes sense. Matewa. I'll see you again soon.